Hello. Welcome back to my channel. I am Monet and you are watching Life is Monet. For the past 2 months, I've been behind on my physical TBR for the prompts that I pulled from the jar. And so I decided to take the month of May to dedicate to just catching up on the books that I've been behind on in terms of my TBR prompt jar, and also just books that I have prior obligations to read in the month of May. And hopefully I'll be able to catch up because I just wrapped up a semester of school, and so I should have a little more free time to do some reading. So the first book is one that was on my April TBR, and I actually did get around to starting it at the end of April. I'm just still reading it right now going into the month of May, and that is going to be the Atlas 6. I have to say that I thought that this was another just like overly hyped booktube favorite. However, I am really enjoying it. Surprisingly, like I'm almost suspicious of how interesting this book is and how much I like it, because I definitely thought that I was walking into another trap. So that's the thing. The characters are very interesting. I do wish that, now I'm only like 50% into the book, so I can't say that it isn't gonna change, but so far, I find this book to be heavily reliant on character relationships more so than like the actual goal and the objective, and like finding out more stuff about this mysterious library and like the people that brought them here. I want to dive into those things a little bit more. But right now, we're mostly just focused on character dynamics and character relationships with one another. But I'm not complaining because they are very interesting characters. I would just like a little more of the backstory to be fleshed out. So I believe the next book was on my March TBR, and that is Master of Sorrows. I did not get around to reading this chunker, but I do plan to in the month of May. This is a coming of age story for a Dark Lord. I believe the whole series is like his coming of age story to becoming a Dark Lord, but this is just like the first installation in the trilogy. And I think we're following him as like an adolescent or maybe like early young adult teenage years. I do have the audiobook for this because it was included in my Audible subscription. So I think that I'm going to be doing this as like a hybrid read where I read some and then do audiobook for the rest of the book. But since this is like such a chunky book and it was actually on my TBR, I want to make sure that I don't leave this too far behind because I do need to read this. If I'm going to have a lot of books on my backlist, I prefer them to be smaller and not literally like 700 pages. The next book was on the same TBR, so it could be from March as well, and that is going to be Cloud Cuckoo Land. This is also kind of like a chunker, and I'm actually very excited for this. This is a 5-star prediction for me. So what happened is that I think I saved the chunkiest books to finish in the last part of March, and I ran through like the smaller books in the first half. But when we got to the last half of March, where I was supposed to actually be reading the thicker books, I got really busy, and so I did not make it to these books. But this is another like pretty thick sized book that I do not want sitting on my TBR if I had already set in mind to read it. The next book probably was also on my March TBR, which, you know, I really had high expectations for my ability to read thick books in the last half of that month. And the next one is going to be The Name of the Wind. This one is also pretty thick. I will never do that again where I just put all chunky books towards the end of the month, because the crunch time, literally, it wasn't crunching. I actually still do not know what this book is about, which I said that and the first time that I put this on my TBR, and I said that the next time you seen the book, I was going to tell you what it was about. I lied because I still haven't read it. But when I actually do read it, I will have a synopsis for you. And I will read these books in May. If I have to like walk around with them everywhere, just put them in the front seat of my car, I will read these books. I unfortunately don't have the audiobook for this one. I think I got the audiobook for Cloud Cuckoo Land off Libro. And then Master of Sorrows, I got the audiobook for off my Audible membership. So those two, definitely doable. And then this one seems to be the only one I'll have to read with my eyeballs, but that's fine because like it's only one. I can do that. The last book that I am behind on is from my February TBR, and that is going to be Beyond Redemption. I don't know what happened and why I never got to this book in February. I think I just started reading other things. I started mood reading based off like what I was just interested in. And then I honestly just forgot that this was on my TBR until the month was already over. And then I tried to read it in March, and then I forgot about it in April. So this is one that I probably will have to carry around with me in my purse because it's really not that big. This is less than 500 pages. I just need to remember to read it. And I think that the problem is that I have it like at the top of my shelves, like out of sight, out of mind. And so I'm taking it down so that it's in my face and I know that I need to read it. And then the next two books that I'll be reading in the month of May is going to be Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl. This was a pre-order by the same author who wrote Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry, and that's literally like right here on my shelf because I loved it that much. This was her debut novel, and then this is her sophomore release, but I just love this book so much that I put this on pre-order as soon as I seen it on her Instagram. The synopsis of this one says that Monique is a preacher's daughter who detests the impossible rules of her religion. Everyone expects her to wait until marriage, so she has no one to turn to when she discovers that she physically can't have sex. After 2 years of trying and failing, her boyfriend breaks up with her. To win him back, Monique teams up with straight-laced church girl Sasha, who is surprisingly knowledgeable about Monique's condition, as well as Reggie, the misunderstood bad boy who always makes a ruckus in church. Together they embark on a top-secret search for the cure. While on their quest, Monique discovers the value of true friendship and the wonders of a love that accepts her for who she is. Despite everyone else's opinions about her virtue, she learns to live for herself, inspiring us all to reclaim our bodies and unapologetically love ourselves. I'm really excited to see what she does with the synopsis because I really enjoyed Quinn as a main character in Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry, and I'm really hoping that this is another main character that I can really connect with. And there are so many things about Quinn being a black girl and having these expectations, but we're not in the same situation with this book because she's not a black girl going to a predominantly white school. This is about a girl who's supposed to be pious and virtuous because she is a preacher's kid, and I just remember what it was like to grow up in a church, especially a very conservative type church, and having to navigate the maturity of like my sexuality and the relationships that I was having and combating that with the things that I was constantly told in church. So I am really looking forward to this book, and like I really hope that she does the same thing that she did in Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry, because then I would really love it. And then the last book I plan to read in the month of May was another pre-order, and you guys know that you were gonna see this. This is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is my third time reading from her. I really did not love the first book, which was Beach Read, but I did really love the second book, which was People We Meet on Vacation. So she's like 1-to-1, one hate, one love. And so this is gonna be the tiebreaker for her for right now. And I'm interested to see if I'm actually going to finally be a Emily Henry stan, or if she'll just continue to be like a one-hit wonder for me. So this is my May TBR. It is essentially 7 books, but I'm already 50% through the first one, so actually 6. They just are very chunky. I'll be finishing the Atlas 6, reading Cloud Cuckoo Land, Name of the Wind, and Master of Sorrows and Beyond Redemption for my backlisted TBR, and then I'll be reading Book Lovers and Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl, which were my pre-orders for the month of May. Here's to me hoping that the month of May is a rather successful reading month for me, and I feel very confident because I actually have 2 weeks in the month of May where I will be doing absolutely nothing. And so in those 2 weeks, I will be focusing on these very chunky books. 2 of the 3 chunky books I already have audiobooks for. So I'm very confident I'll be able to knock this out, and I will see you guys back in June, and we'll bring back the TBR prompt jar and go for it from there. I hope you guys have a very happy reading month in the month of May, and I will see you guys in my next video.